Abstention?
One abstention.
One abstention. Very good. Next, do we have any correspondence on the zoning commission? And I'll start with my left with Frank. Do you have any correspondence?
None, Mr. Chairman.
Hiram?
None, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Andy?
None for me.
Okay, Ashley?
Mr. Chair.
And I had none either, so no correspondence for the month. Public participation. At this point, we open it up to anyone that would like to speak about anything on tonight's agenda or in general to the zoning commission. And that could be anyone on the telephone. Do we have anyone on the telephone tonight, Heather?
No.
Okay, nothing on the phone. Anybody here that would like to speak to the commission on any item? Nothing. Okay. With no public participation, I'll close the participation and we'll move on to new business. And there is no new business tonight because tonight's agenda is basically a continuation of a tabled session that we had in May concerning the classic car wash. We tabled this and per mutual agreement and continued on. We had a number of open items that were being discussed at the time. There were some items on the listing, actually on the staff report from both the county and from Heather that we had some concerns with and that needed to be addressed. And by mutual agreement, we said that we would continue it this month and address those issues. So tonight we have before us some revised documents. First of all, we have a revised staff report in front of us. Secondly, a supporting document is a revised 97-page traffic study that was presented for the proposal. And we also have a revised landscaping plan with also revisions to the facility itself. So with that in mind, we'll go through basically the site issues on the staff report. The staff report from both Lake County and our local zoning goes through a number of issues that were of concern in the site review itself. And we'll begin with the site review tonight. We'll do design review as a separate item. So on the site review, the staff report talks about primarily 5 different areas for discussion, one of which is still an open concern. On the car wash, there's a canopy that goes above the pay station where the 3 lines of automobiles go underneath the canopy. They pay either with credit card or with cash or using their validation sticker. That canopy is currently in violation of the setback regulations that we have, which require that to be 50 feet from Gold Court. The actual measurement is 27.19 feet from Gold Court. So there are 2 options on that, but it's still an open item. It can either be revised, which I don't know how you'd revise that, or a variance can be requested. That variance would have to go through the BZA, the Board of Zoning Appeals, for approval. That's not a variance that this board has the authority to grant. We talked about too that one of the things that would be ideal from a traffic standpoint was if we could reach some sort of agreement between the proposed car wash and the Holiday Inn, which is adjacent and behind the proposed car wash, where maybe the parking lot entrance could be shared. It was just a suggestion, but we said due diligence should be made to explore that possibility. So the owner of the Holiday Inn has been contacted, and we have in front of us a document basically saying they're not interested in doing that for traffic reasons. So the idea of a changed entrance or a secondary entrance is kind of off the table because Holiday Inn does not wish to participate, although they have no objections to a car wash for a neighbor. They just don't want that traffic through their parking lot. Another item was the traffic issue that we talked about last month, and there were concerns about the traffic report not covering all of the parameters. The new traffic report that we have in front of us tonight is much more comprehensive, and it now satisfies the Lake County folks and their concerns, and it also satisfies our zoning board here, or our zoning department here in Concord. So that issue, though we can still discuss it, is deemed to require no further action. The next item on the docket here that does require some concern or discussion is the landscaping plan. Our requirements require on the what would be the south side of the property to have a 5-foot planting area between all the building walls and paved areas. That is currently not on the plan. And the question would be either the plan is changed or a variance could be requested for that at the applicant's choice. And then we had another landscape issue about shade trees, and that's been addressed. New trees are being added to the plan, and that satisfies that requirement. And then finally, and I guess this is really, there's a strip in there that would be mounted, and it's 2 feet higher than the parking lot. The plan must show the contours for that, and that has now been addressed and compliant. So with that in mind, that was within the body of the staff report. And then at the end of the staff report, we go into a little more detail on some of these where we talk about, again, the easement of the property, not an issue anymore because Holiday Inn doesn't want to participate. But the 2 items that would require either a change or a variance are items 2 and 3, which is the canopy and the planting of the 5-foot planting area on the south side of the building. Other than that, there is an item that says show the existing contours within 100 feet of the parcel that's still open. Is that an issue still, Heather? The contours?
That would still need to be revised on the civil plans.
Okay. And basically, those are the items that would affect tonight's discussion. Everything else has been closed. The recommendation, and I'll remind everyone involved, the site approval was already done by the zoning appeals. The request to build a car wash there was approved by the zoning appeals board. We're here to talk strictly on the site plan and the design plan. So with the site plan in mind, is there any discussion on the board that there's still concern in any area? Frank, anything that?
Not that I could see. I went through the things that were highlighted, and as far as I can see, all these are going to be met.
Okay.
They've agreed upon, so.
Okay. I know you missed last month's meeting, so you may have some questions. Now's the time.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The one that concerns me is the north side setback. Should be 50 and it's only 27. So we need to revise that or have a variance for that.
Which item? It's not.
Well, the canopy proposed over the pay area is on the north side. The setback is 27.19 from the Gold Court Road right of way where the minimum setback is 50.
Yeah, that's the canopy.
Yes, the canopy.
Right, and that's the one a variance would be required or a change to the design.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what.
And that one's still open.
Okay, that one's still open.
That one's still open.
And then I have a question on the design, and I don't think you can.
Yeah, let's do the site first,
can
and
do
then we'll
that.
do the design.
Oh yeah, okay, you're right. That's it.
Okay, so canopy. Andy?
Yeah, I have a question. Mike, is it appropriate for us to move forward on the site plan review with having variances that are still required from the BZA? I mean, would it be prudent of us to wait until the BZA rules on this before we would do anything further, or where are we at with that?
Under 36.07 of the zoning resolution, there can be a conditional approval of the site plan, and in this particular case, and the representative has yet to speak on this, but if the representative indicates that he's going to seek the variances that have been the subject matter of the discussion so far, the zoning commission has the authority to grant, assuming it's going to do that, has the authority to grant approval conditionally of the site plan pending on certain conditions, which, again, if it's going to be the 2 variances, it would be subject to that. And obviously, if the variances are not granted, the potential for modification of the site plan is always available to the applicant as well. So
So if we conditionally approved the site plan, okay, and then they would take this to the BZA, and the BZA would deny, or they couldn't meet those requirements, and they would deny those, then what would happen to our conditional approval then? Would that,
it goes by the wayside, basically.
what would be the recourse after that from the applicants?
The applicant can, under the section 36 of the zoning resolution, has the availability to come back with a modified plan for review, again, by the zoning commission,
So
if it wanted to do that.
even if we granted a conditional approval, or I'm looking for if we conditionally approved the site plan review for tonight,
Yes,
based on these variances that they're gonna have to get from the BZA.
correct.
Okay, and if those were not approved, then our conditional approval would be negated,
That's correct.
would be vacated?
Right, because it's expressly conditioned upon those two conditions. If the subsequent action by the applicant before the Board of Zoning Appeals is unsuccessful, the conditional approval, at the risk of stating the obvious, is expressly conditioned upon those conditions being successfully met by the applicant. They're
Right.
not being successfully met if the BZA determines that they're not going to grant either variance or one variance but not the other one. So in that type of situation, the approval, because it's conditional as opposed to an absolute approval,
Right.
falls by the wayside, is no longer in effect.
So if they met if there was more than one condition that we made for the recommendation, if there were three, just for conversation, there was three conditions, they met two of the three, but they didn't meet the third, then that would negate what we've done.
Yes.
We'd have to get all three would have to be.
They have to meet all the conditions
all
as
the
you
conditions.
place for approval.
Right.
And if they don't meet all of those conditions, then the conditional approval, by its very name, conditional approval, is no longer in effect.
And then if all three were granted, or however many conditions there are on our conditional site plan approval, it would go to the BZA for those conditions to be met. They meet all those, and it doesn't come back to us.
No.
Our decision then becomes formal.
No,
Okay.
that's correct, because the BZA, if you're limiting it hypothetically in this discussion to the two variances that potentially are there, and the applicant goes in front of the Board of Zoning Appeals and both variances are granted, all the conditions have been met, and they're basically removed from the table in terms of the absolute approval by the zoning commission.
Right. So we wouldn't have to reapprove then
No.
with the conditions if those conditions were met then.
That's correct.
Okay, so once we do that, it goes to the BZA, and then at that point, the BZA makes a decision. If they grant all their conditions, then it's pretty much done.
It is done.
Right. Okay. But if they don't meet all those, then there would be nothing for us to consider. The applicant would then have to reapply.
Well, reapply or present, they have the availability to present a modification of the site plan.
Now, if they did that, I'm just trying to understand the process. So if they did that, then that would come back to us then,
Yes.
and then we would have to then conditionally approve it again, and it would have to go back in front of the BZA.
Well, not necessarily conditionally approve it. If they come back and they present a plan, a site plan that has eliminated the necessity for any variance, then there is no condition necessary.
Right.
It's an either we approve it or disapprove it.
Correct. Okay. Very good.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate
Okay.
the insight. Okay. I'd like to hear from the applicant as to what their thoughts are on some of these processes. Rich, other than that, I'm
Okay, and I'm gonna call them up next.
Sure, okay.
Ashley, anything you see? Okay, very good. And is there anyone from the applicant that would like to step forward and address these issues, these two variance areas and any other issues that might be on here? Please state your name and your address, please.
Kurt Hansen, 4780 South Pine Lane, Perry, Ohio. For both of the items, the first one being on the north side of the building, the canopy, we are definitely looking at applying to the BZA for a variance for that, to have it basically to be able to build it as we have designed. And then on the second item regarding the landscaping, the 5 foot on the south side of the building, that one as well, we are looking at submitting to the BZA to request for a variance there as well.
Okay. Very good.
Now, is that on is one on the design, is that there, I'm sorry, you lost me on that. The first one was the one that's on the conditions for the shared driveway.
No.
No, the
No,
canopy.
for
for
the
the
canopy.
Canopy.
The
Yes.
location at the top of the page.
Right.
Yeah, the first one's for the canopy on the north side of the building, and then the second one would be for on the south side of the building for not having the 5-foot landscape buffer right adjacent to the south side of the building.
Right. So there's going to be 2 variances you're going to
That
request.
is correct.
Okay. All right.
I believe those are the only 2 concerns that are listed in here that are still open. Is that correct, Heather?
Mr. Chairman, I would still recommend a conditional approval based on, granting getting these 2 variances approved, and then also revising the civil plans to show the existing contours within 100 feet of the lot lines. And then just making sure that the grading plan also shows that 2-foot mound that we've revised already on the landscape.
Is that an issue at all?
No, that would be on the final set of civil drawings that would be presented to
Okay.
to the township
Very good.
for the final.
So 2 variances and address that
Correct.
as part of the conditional as well, that will be taken care of in your plan. Well, that's pretty much it, I think, for the site. On the design side of things here, while you're there, the design comments that we have, architectural plans talk about the car wash building is 4,800 square feet. Maximum height of the building is 31 foot 4 inches to the top of the parapet, 16-inch top of the low parapet. And talks about the construction. You've changed your color scheme to match the Concord zoning requirements. So it basically says here that that's fully compliant now. So you won't have the white and red, you'll have the
That's
color,
correct.
the charcoal and okay. The canopy roof over the building is approximately 152 feet long. And the plans have been revised now and are compliant in that area of the canopy roof. That was taken care of and addressed. The tallest portion of the building had lighting up there on the sign, and you've removed the lighting.
Correct.
So that the sign, which was your concern that you brought up, Andy, that the lighting on the sign at the top, the high
Well, there's
part.
the lighting in the height,
Yeah,
so we didn't do anything on the height.
Well, we did not.
yeah. So,
Was there a reason why?
I know per the township code, that buildings are supposed to be designed to look like that they are 2 stories, but don't have to be. So that was obviously, when we designed, that was part of ours to give that 2-story look, was to have that element to achieve meet the code.
Okay.
very good. Lighting plan, you changed your lighting, you have new compliant lighting, and we have in our packet here, for your reference, the new lighting that is being used and is now said to be compliant.
Yeah, and that was the lighting underneath the canopies. The original lighting underneath the canopies had a pennant fixture that stuck down, so that has all been revised to have the fixture that is up in there, so you will not see it at all.
And that's fully compliant now, right, Heather? The
Yes.
lighting?
Yes.
Okay. And then a sign package, the sign packet is compliant, is what our report says. So all signage, is there any discussion on signage, Heather, that we need to bring up? Item, I numbered it number 5, but it's the last item you have above the comment section there.
Oh.
Sign package was submitted.
I guess I would note that they did revise that freestanding sign that they had at the entrance,
Okay.
directing traffic onto the property, into the car
Uh-huh.
wash. That was a revision to match the new color scheme, and at the pay stations where they brought the stone in, and the new color scheme to match the building.
Correct.
So-
Yeah, we did with that sign, and also to the menu board sign there at the pay stations, I think as well too, when we
Yeah.
made those tied into the building.
Okay, and obviously one of the things that has to be addressed, and I'm assuming will be addressed, is the comments from Lake County, which are the utilities, stormwater management, and so forth. And Heather has rolled that into her final recommendations and conclusions here, that it's a given that you'll have to comply with all the
That's
requirements on
correct,
that. And are there any problems that you're aware of in that area with
No,
utilities?
we've been in direct communication with all the utility
Straightforward.
companies so far.
Okay.
So that's all gonna be, and then, yeah, once the drawings are 100% complete, they'll get submitted to to the utility companies, to stormwater for their full review and feedback, and all their comments will be addressed as we go through that process.
Okay, very good. One of the items that appeared to be still open on here, on the design staff recommendation, was the last item, which was trash enclosure detail shall be revised to match the color scheme of the building. Has that been done?
That has not been done yet, but that will be on the final drawing, so that'll
That'll be done.
obviously have the stone base on it to match, so all that, the tie-ins like we do with the signs in the building itself.
Okay, very good. I saw that. That was the only thing I saw that was still open that didn't seem to be and that's going to be in the final. You're okay with that?
As long as they can agree to that condition, if that pleases this board, yeah.
Okay. Any questions here, Frank, on design?
None, Mr. Chairman.
Hiram, design?
Yes, we said that the canopy roof over the main car wash building has been resolved. Can you tell me how?
We're actually, we'll let you see if you can pull up the elevations. All right, so the original design had from, just looking at the side elevations from one end to the other was a continuous canopy. So as we worked through basically based upon the township code, we have, as you see, taken the center of the canopy area out of there. So now you have basically covered canopy coming in, kind of extends over the roof a little bit, and then it stops and it starts back up again. Last time we basically presented, we discussed that actually the canopy going into the car wash and exiting are basically both basically they're there to be there as a use. So the canopy going into the car wash, that is for when the cars are coming up, the first car gets lined up to go into the tunnel, there's always an employee that stands there and makes sure the car is lined up. They take the mirrors, make sure they're folded in, so that kind of helps keep them undercover throughout the daytime. They're working, especially during the summer months with the warm sun. And then as the canopy goes out of the tunnel, there's always one or two employees that are there that will take them the mirrors, they'll turn the mirrors back out. They got chamois that they'll kind of do a finished dry off of the car. So that kind of helps give them an area to stand and be protected from the elements as well.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, Andy, on the design.
No, I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Ashley? And I have no further comments on the design either. Thank you. That's really all we have. We're going to do two motions here, separate motions, one for the site review, site plan, and the other for the design review. For the record, and we stated these in last month's record, but the site plan review is for parcel number 08A020B00005-0, and that is the site plan review for application number 52. So I'll entertain a motion in the affirmative for approval of the site plan.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
for purposes of the motion, and I'm sure nobody's forgotten, but you're going to make a motion to conditionally approve, subject to the grant of the two variances
Thank you,
that were
Mike. That's
discussed.
absolutely correct. Anybody that makes a motion here, it has to include conditional approval based on the two variance requests and the other open items that we just discussed that would be fairly routine. Before we vote, I guess, any further comments? Before we even entertain a motion, any comments that anybody has?
Site plan?
Frank?
Not for me,
Design
Mr.
or,
Chairman, that's
okay,
the same thing.
Hiram?
Design or
Either one,
site plan?
yeah, because we're gonna do,
Let me talk to them afterwards. It's
Okay.
not a big issue,
okay.
just a question.
Comments, Andy?
No, I just want to make sure we get the motion right on the site plan, that's all.
Okay. Ashley, anything? The only comment I would make is it was my intent to go to Mentor this past month and go through the car wash that exists there and experience it firsthand, and I was unable to do that, or I just somehow didn't get around to it. But I do have a good friend that lives in Mentor, and he owns a business, and he takes his company vehicles there ever since it opened. And I asked him candidly, what is your experience there? in his comment, and it was a kind of a personal testimony, he said, you know, I go there mostly in the wintertime. I buy the monthly pass and I go there regularly, and I've gone there on the days when the traffic was at its worst and it wasn't bad. So he confirmed at least there. Now I know that's Fracci Court compared to Gold Court, which is a little different in size, but he said never experienced a real traffic concern down there. And his comment was it's a first-class operation, it's very well run, and he really complimented the employees that Classic hires there. He said they're helpful, they're polite, and had a lot of good things to say about them. So I got nothing negative out of that, and I thought I'd share that. So with that in mind, I'll now entertain a motion to conditionally approve, and please call out the conditions if you make the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for approval, conditional approval, with the 2 variances for BZA as stated in the staff recommendations, as well as addressing the issues with the staff recommendations in our.
Thank you. Should I have a motion for conditional approval of the site plan? Do I have a second?
What are the conditions that we're assessing to this?
The site plan conditions listed in the staff recommendation.
Which ones?
All of the ones that the staff.
Well, it's 2, correct?
2 variances.
2
then there are
variances
2 others.
plus the staff.
The other ones too, Andy, the
the
contour on the plan, landscape contour, the ones that Heather called out.
Right, but I want to know what if the 2 variances that are required. I like those to be stated by specifically, not just, you know.
Two variances
in general.
being the canopy variance as well as the south side gardening, 5-foot gardening.
So it's the variance on the canopy location in relationship to Gold Court distance-wise, and the 5-foot buffer landscaping zone on the south side of the property. Both will require variances.
Does that cover them right, Heather? Huh?
I mean, that covers the 2 variances, but I guess, Mr. Lucas, maybe you could help here a
Yeah,
little bit.
that's fine.
Should we
that
just, should the board be off, asking for a conditional approval with all of the conditions as stated in the staff report, or should we eliminate the ones that we've kind of agreed to that they've met already?
Well, that was my question, because
Yeah.
there's a number of conditions that are recommended in
Yeah.
the staff recommendations where those conditions have been met. So I would like, I just want to make sure that when we call out these specific conditions, that we call them out, that they're specific and not just in general, so that we know exactly what we're dealing with. That's all. I think from a formality, from a motion standpoint, we need to call these out specifically. So.
I don't know what other conditions the applicant's represented he's going to meet or already has met the staff recommendations on everything exclusive of the variances. What else
Right.
is there?
Right, exactly.
What were the 2 things that you had stated? The
So under
2-foot.
so under the staff recommendations on the staff report on page 5, number 2, they said they're going for the variance. Number 3,
Right.
they're going for the variance. Number 4, they still need to do, which is show the existing contours. Number 5, show the revised grading plan to show the 2-foot mound. And then obviously we still want them to comply with the county stormwater management and county engineer stipulations. So
And also the trash enclosure detail.
that falls under the
That's
design
another
review.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did we get them all?
I believe that to be the case.
Okay, I have a motion to conditionally approve with the conditions noted. Do I have a second?
I second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Frank. We have a motion and a second. Heather, could you call for the vote on the site plan?
Ms. Garkar,
Yes.
Mr. Reppert,
I conditionally approve, yes.
Mr. Lingenfelter,
Based on the conditions, yes.
Mr. Schindler,
Based on the conditions, yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes, similar with the conditions being met. Okay, thank you. So it is conditionally approved at this point for the site plan. The next item obviously is the design plan, and this is again application number 5208-A-020-B-00-005-0. Entertain a motion, and I don't believe we have variances on the design end of this, a recommendation to conditionally approve the design.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question? Is the conditional that we discussed so that things don't get missed, it was just the trash?
Oh, trash?
Is that correct? Was that the only
Under the
conditional that
design?
we were looking at?
Yeah,
for
I guess
design?
trash is listed under the design, you know, trash enclosure to match the color scheme of the building.
Were there other conditional things that we
I think
needed?
everything under design, everything else under design, I believe, was covered.
No, the canopy is still the issue.
No, that's under site plan.
Canopy
No,
site.
design review, the bottom of that page, page 3, the canopy roof over the main car wash.
That's a different canopy. That's the canopy over the entire building, and
Yeah,
that's,
it's 152 feet long.
it was covered already though.
The black writing is from May, and if you then read the blue writing, that's how they fixed it with the new thing, from my understanding.
It's now compliant, if you note on the bottom of page 3.
Okay, I apologize.
Yeah, no, those,
I could be
There are
incorrect
two
with the black and
canopies there.
blue.
okay. So the only conditional that's open right now in the design, and that would also apply to the utilities as they may apply, would be the trash container enclosure matching the building. So do I have a motion for conditional approval with those minor exceptions or minor conditions?
What are they again? The trash?
Yeah, top of page 7. Trash enclosure details shall be revised to match the color scheme of the car wash building.
Okay,
And then obviously the other condition is that they meet all of the Lake County utility and sewer and stormwater requirements.
not complain, not complain, not complain. Okay. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we conditionally approve the design review for, I don't even have the number 08-A-020-B-0, oops, wrong one. 08A-020-B-00-005-0 with the condition that the trash enclosure detail shall be revised to match the color scheme of the car wash building. And in addition, all the county and utility requirements are met.
Thank you, Hiram. I have a motion for conditional approval. Do I have a second?
I can second. I'll second.
Okay, Ashley seconds, so we have a motion seconded. Heather, could you call for the vote, please?
Mr. Ruppert,
Yes, with those conditions being met.
Mr. Lingenfelter,
Yes.
Ms. Garkar,
Yes.
Mr. Schindler,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes. Okay, given the vote, both the site plan and the design review for the car wash are conditionally approved with the conditions as noted. Thank you.
You have to leave.
That was pretty much our whole agenda tonight. Does there anybody have anything that you'd like to discuss before we adjourn? Any items?
There was one thing I caught on there, probably no big deal. If you take a look, one thing I caught on there on the front page where it said the Board of Zoning Appeals voted to reconsider conditional use permitted on the car wash at their June 8th
Right,
meeting, which is tomorrow.
right. We knew that. Yeah,
Okay.
we're aware of that.
That's it.
Okay, well, with that in mind, our next meeting is the day after the 4th of July, July 5th, 2022. And I will adjourn tonight's meeting.